Have you ever wondered what it really means to move like a human? And what if I told you that healing isn't just science, it's an art? Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, where we explore the intersection of Orlando real estate and your best life. I'm your host, Phil Kruse, here to help you make the most out of your journey right here in the city beautiful. Today, I will be interviewing Justin Cobb with New Dimensions Wellness Club. Justin holds several advanced certifications, including a certified strength and conditioning specialist, neuro emotional techniques level 3, and he's the co-founder and president of the New Dimensions Wellness Club, which is located right here in Orlando. And him and his coworkers champion integrative health solutions that promote lasting wellness through body, mind, and movement. Justin, welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, and thank you for being here.
Phil, man, I appreciate you having me. Really excited about this.
So am I. Justin and I have met a few times before this. What he brings to the table is so interesting. Some of the things we're going to be discussing today are different exercise and healing techniques, such as emphasizing natural human movements, how love and the mind play a role in the art of healing. It's not just physical. How Justin's facility here in Orlando, the New Dimensions Wellness Club, can help you, specifically listening or watching, and even some entrepreneurial insights from Justin and stories about his journey, like how he worked with Cirque du Soleil. But before we go any further, for you listening out there, if you want to get involved with the New Dimension Wellness Club or learn more about Justin, you can find them at their website, ndwellness.com. Also on Instagram, a lot of cool content on there, a lot of uplifting content, cool videos about some of the stuff we're going to be talking about on Instagram at ND_wellness. And of course, he's on Facebook, New Dimension Wellness. Look, they're accepting new clients. Mention that you heard about him on my podcast, and Justin will hook you up. And of course, I'm a real estate agent, and one of my main lead sources are listeners like you. So when it's your time to make a major real estate decision, or your friend is talking about real estate, mention me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K. A portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity, either the charity of your choosing or to the New Image Youth Center, where I volunteer every Wednesday. Did you know I'm teaching an improv class there? All right, it's a lot of fun. Okay, and jump on your podcast platform or YouTube, hit the bell, like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You're going to get a notification every Monday when I drop new episodes. I love interviewing local business leaders and entrepreneurs like Justin, restaurant owners, and of course, real estate and Orlando lifestyle tips for you. All right, enough with the shameless plugs. Has a day at the gym ended up causing more harm than benefit to you? And think about this. Does what you do in the gym actually match the way that you move through the world? Let's bring Justin in for this stuff because this is what he does every day. Justin, your center emphasizes human movements. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so we put a focus on biomechanics. So the human body is set up and connected. And I'm purely talking structurally here, right? With our muscles, our bones, and our fascia to allow us to move in specific ways and specific patterns. So we have evolved to walk, run, throw, fight, hunt, things that Homo sapien needed for survival. What has been popularized in culture, pop culture, and even just I would say from a lack of understanding human movement and human function was bodybuilding style training, right? Four sets of 10 or pyramiding, supersets, drop sets. And that is a great way to build hypertrophy in the muscles and look good, but it doesn't translate into movement and function. So what you find happening is, people will do this isolated style training and they'll maltension their body, or they'll have more tension, in their biceps or their pecs or their lats. And then they go down to pick something up and they can't, or they can't rotate to, clean themselves or, whatever it might be. You see it all, even though someone works out and they're in shape, they can't play with their grandchild. They can't sprint, which is incredibly important and a foundational movement of human movement. So our goals is to allow somebody to do what they love to do as long as they want to, without the aches and without the pains. And what we found was moving the body in these specific ways and utilizing specific principles, I don't want to say reverses pain, but retensions the body to where now that body is moving the way it's supposed to. You're not having the tensions, you're not having the rubbing, you're not having the frictions on joints and tendons and muscles that you would typically have by doing traditional, one plane type exercises and movements.
Sure. I mean, I can speak to that. Like, I've been doing a lot more weightlifting over the past year. While I feel great and I've noticed a change in my body, I've also noticed definitely some tightening. I was doing yoga for years and years, and that was my main form of exercise, and I felt very loose and limber. I've gotten away from that, and now I do more weight training, and I can sense like my flexibility waning. What are some of the kind of specific exercises? Like you mentioned, twisting, running, sprinting. Like, how does a traditional bench press in the gym translate to what you would do, for as an example?
So when you look at how the human body moves, if we're just talking about walking, right, the legs primarily move forward and back sagittally, and our upper body rotates,
Rotates.
right?
Okay.
So now if you dissect the body, we've done this in cadaver labs, and you look, and fascially speaking, your pec muscle connects down into your abdominals, down into the opposite side hip flexor, down through that quad into the arm, and they contract as a unit to allow that body to swing through and take a step. And then that other side is stretched, from the left pec down into that right side, and then those contract to allow you to take your next step. So when I lay down on a bench, right, you lock your shoulder blades in place, you're taking your hips and your legs out of the equation, and then we're just shortening those pec muscles. You create imbalances of that motor unit firing as a whole. So now when you go to sprint, there's no fluidity in the movement. I don't know if you can probably pull this up on YouTube. They're pretty funny. Even Instagram, but like bodybuilders sprinting on a treadmill. I mean, you got huge, humongous, I guess you can call it visually, pleasing. I think it's pretty cool how those guys look and their hard work. I don't want to knock bodybuilders. It is a sport, and they're great at their sport, but it doesn't translate into the movement, into the function. And so what we do when we see somebody, we try to say, or we look at, how is your body tensioned? Where are your compensations? Is your rib cage kind of rotated right and shifted left, and your left glute's firing better than your right one, and your left big toe is moving and your right one isn't? And what sort of an exercise program could we prescribe to you that's going to allow your body to come back to a baseline? So like, if looking at like a bell curve, right, you might be skewed to one side of that bell curve. And what we're trying to do with the exercise is bring it back towards that little center point. So now your body can rotate this way and it can rotate that way equally with the proper tensions. And in essence, that's human movement.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. And I love the visualization of, your shoulder, your pec, your ab, your hip, kind of a slash across your chest. I think most people picture that. Pivot, like continuing down that path though, with New Dimension Wellness, and obviously you guys offer physical workouts. That's what we've been talking about so far. But if somebody goes to your facility, what other services do you provide?
We provide a lot. And when I was developing this place, I've came to this realization early in my career, early in my life. I did a lot of alternative style treatments for my own health, my own well-being, my own, health journey. And I wanted to implement them into my practice. So I was practicing as a physical therapist at a facility here in Vineland Road, over by Mall Millennia. And even though I would give the same two people the same structural exercise prescriptions, one person may respond completely different than the other one, or somebody with the same exact injury, one may be symptomatic and one may be asymptomatic. And I started asking, well, why? What's the difference? Right. And what I came to understand is we're not just structural beings. The structural aspect of what we do affects one part of how we feel, but there's a lot of other things that get into what affects ourselves and how we feel, from what we eat, what we drink, what kind of light we come in contact with, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, radiation, shampoos, soaps, lotions, potions. What deodorant are we using every day? What water are we drinking? Is our water depleted with minerals? Is it, Orlando City, is it Orlando County water with tons of fluoride in it, and
Right.
all of those things can affect how we feel. And then the third category that affects how we feel is what we think, stress. And that you kind of mentioned in your introduction, love and the mental work. But so when we designed New Dimensions, I wanted treatments that would look at the body structurally, would look at the body biochemistry. So that's the what we eat and what we drink, what we put on and bring into our body is how I describe that. And then
Okay.
3, what we think and how we process stressors and information and emotions. And what I found is if I can introduce something into people's lives that address all 3 of those categories, I'm going to affect change in somebody's life. And that's why I do what I do. I want to change people's lives. I want people to learn things that they didn't know before and make changes that allow them to be a beautiful expression of what they're supposed to be, and allow them to feel good about what it is they're trying to accomplish in their goals in life.
Wow. I mean, if somebody hears that, I don't know how that wouldn't create an emotional response. That creates an emotional response in me right now. The way you deliver that, it clearly shows that you are passionate about what you do, and that you can help people. I mean, it's not just picking up and putting down heavy things or stretching. When I came to your facility for the first time, I was struck by when I walked in, there was a mix of older people or younger people. Some people looked athletic, some people looked out of shape. There was what looked like massage or physical therapists helping people in the front room.
Mm,
In the back, you had a full gym, almost looked like a CrossFit studio. You had a freaking infrared sauna. You had a hyperbaric chamber, which you let me go
yeah,
in.
back, oh, yeah,
You guys have a lot of stuff at your facility, man.
absolutely. Um, so I said, as I went through my own healing journey, I picked the things that helped me.
Okay.
Um, to me, I said, hey, well, if this helped me, I'm sure it can help other people. Now, yes, I did do research and read papers on, saunas do this, this, and this. But at the end of the day, I was like, man, all this stuff changed my life. I want to allow other people to experience this and change their lives. Now that we're successful and we're, doing other things, we're always looking at, okay, what new tech is out there? What's the new upcoming things that we could bring in that would help people? But at the core, it's it's how we deliver our product first and foremost with health. And this is my personal belief system. It's a relationship. Healing, we talked about healing being an art. it, Techniques don't heal. There's no, you know, when I went to school for 7 years, learned tons of mobilizations and techniques and ways to manipulate the body. But at the end of the day, we're complex beings, and I create an environment for somebody to heal themselves. So I say, I hate getting religious on podcasts and stuff, but
Please.
God does the healing. Yeah, God does the healing. I collect the fee. So at the end of the day, I create a vibration that people can come and meet me at. And if they can meet me at that vibration, their bodies will heal themselves. If you bring the right stimuli, from what you're eating, what you're drinking, hyperbaric chambers, red lights, saunas, compression, proper exercise that's not compressing your joints, that's allowing you to work with gravity. Most people just aren't doing these things. So when somebody comes to see us and they are in pain, they're not sure if they're meeting their goals, they're not feeling good about themselves, they're not feeling good about their job. Every day, anyone that's ever been in pain, it wears on your energy. Other things aren't as good because you're in pain. So from that point, you come in here, you have a supportive team that are talking to each other, from your massage therapist, your physical therapist, your nutritionist, your personal wellness guide. Now you're setting goals for yourself. You're praying, you're meditating, you're doing these exercise classes, you're learning how to exercise properly, you're doing compression therapy, you're getting in an infrared sauna, you're using a hyperbaric chamber, you're doing these red light treatments, you're blocking out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and radiation. And when you're looking at your computer screens at night or your phone, you're wearing blue blocking glasses or red glasses. So now you're sleeping better. It's impossible for your cells to not be that expression that they're supposed to be. So I always tell people I have a system that can't fail. If somebody comes here, I could look you in the eyes and say, I guarantee if you do what I'm asking you to do, you will feel better. Money back guarantee. Whoever wants to take me up on that, please.
Well, you heard it straight from the
challenge.
horse's
Yeah,
mouth.
the challenge is out there.
Awesome.
So speaking about the blue blockers, I'll throw mine on now. So I practice what I preach.
There you go. All right. Not quite bedtime yet, but I feel you. I want to shift gears, Justin. That was such great information. And again, your passion just really comes through, even digitally here. You obviously have a diverse background, lots of certifications, a lot of education, constantly learning. But I want to emphasize something that I think the listener and viewer will find interesting is, how did you end up working with Cirque du Soleil, and what was that like?
How did I end up working with them? I'm trying to think. So a doctor that I worked with, Randy Schwartzberg, here in town with Orlando Orthopedics, he was the Cirque Soleil doctor.
Okay.
The company I was working with at the time, Sport Specific Training and Rehabilitation, I want to say they had a contract with Cirque Soleil where we would provide like an on-call therapist for them when their main therapists weren't able to work, if they were on vacation or had time off. So I was sent there one time as one of the on-call therapists. And then later on, I ended up being a part-timer there. But man, Cirque Soleil is extremely, extremely interesting, and I'm not even talking about it as a company, just the circus, the performers, when you have people from France and Ukraine and Russia and the US and Great Britain, and man, they're all walking around half naked with these amazing bodies and super I hope this isn't a negative connotation, but it's a super liberal environment. Like there's freedom. So I've never I've been in locker rooms and sport locker rooms where you hear all the trash talk and the fuck you and shit this, but the circus is kind of more, man, it's free, it's fun. You have to have thick skin. You have homosexuals, you got everybody, and they're all joking at each other. Like, you can be up on the table stretching a guy's hamstring, and people are pointing and making jokes, just being funny. But it was a super cool place that would break up the monotony of like a regular day-to-day that you would do in the clinic. So whenever I got to go to the circus, I loved it. Then from the performance standpoint, I was there when La Nuba was the show over at Disney Springs, and I've probably seen that show 400 or 500 times, and every single time I watched it, I was awestruck all over again. Like, mouth down, like, how did these human beings perform these skills? It's amazing seeing the circus. So I have nothing but good things to say about Cirque du Soleil.
I think it's so cool. I envy that story because I can picture, that setting of all the different performers, different shapes and sizes, super strong dudes, super petite women that are equally as strong pound for pound, and different colors and shapes. That's so cool, man. And thank you for sharing that story. And before we continue and talk about nutrition and more about the holistic wellness and the art of healing, and also finding out what the hell neuro-emotional technique is, I'm going to do another shameless plug and address the listener and say, look, hook me up and subscribe to my podcast. I mentioned it earlier on YouTube. Hit the bell, subscribe. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notifications on your phone so you get notified every Monday when I drop a new podcast featuring awesome guests like Justin. All right. I have another great guest coming up next week from the Ronald McDonald House Charities to figure out what they're doing here in Orlando. Also, lots of real estate tips, lifestyle information, what's going on in Orlando. Follow me on social media. Google me. Search me on Instagram, Phil Kruse with a K, Kruse. I do a weekend post every Friday to let you know my favorite 5 or 6 things that are going on in Orlando. I think it's super valuable. I've learned a lot since I've been doing that, stuff for my kids. And don't forget about my real estate services. Obviously, I'm a listing specialist. I can help your home sell not just at the highest price, but also fast. Look, real estate doesn't have to be stressful. Hire the right professional, work with me, and a portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity, as I mentioned. All right, now back to Justin. Look, I love cooking healthy meals for my kids. I take extra virgin olive oil shots occasionally. I eat grass-fed beef. I eat pasture-raised eggs. Some might describe me as a health nut. Obviously, I view nutrition as essential. I know you do as well. So if you had to name one or two top dietary changes for the average person listening or watching out there, what would they be?
I think the easiest thing, and it seems so basic, is just eat food. And when I say food, things that can spoil, right? If you leave a piece of meat out on the counter, it's going to go rotten. It's going to spoil. If you get a good piece of fruit that hasn't been, sprayed and modified, and you leave it out, it goes bad. So you always hear, hey, shop on the outside of the grocery store. That's where like your fruits, your vegetables, your meats are. At the end of the day, if you could just do that, you're probably doing better than most people. Second tip I would say is, if you can afford organic and it's in the budget, get organic stuff. If you can eat something that's been sprayed with pesticides or something that hasn't been sprayed with pesticides, in my mind, it just makes common sense to eat the cleaner thing that doesn't have weed killers and chemicals and fertilizers in it. And hopefully it's been grown in better soil that actually still has some minerals and stuff in there. But I'm actually going to give a third tip. You should
Please.
probably also get some sort of a blood test or blood work to just see what your body is deficient in. Because like I just mentioned, our food supply isn't filled with the same minerals and things that it was, 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. So I believe that everybody needs some form of supplementation. It's just a fact of the culture that we live in now.
I think it's an amazing tip because I just described myself as a health nut. I'm in the gym 4 to 5 days a week. If I'm not in the gym, I'm paddleboarding. I'm constantly exercising. I eat very clean. I avoid carbohydrates, but I do blood work every year with my doctor, who's a DO. I forget what that stands for, but they're like holistic mixed with regular doctor. And she does blood work every year. And she found that I was deficient in electrolytes of all things. And she prescribed salt for me. She found that I was low in B12, which I eat a lot of red meat. I eat a lot of B12 heavy things, but for my body, she prescribed a B12 supplement that I spray into my mouth that is absorbed through the skin of my mouth. So I think that's an excellent tip because what I'm deficient in based on my genetics and what I'm eating, it's going to be completely different from you. And so if we eat the same foods, it may not fix your particular health issue where it would fix mine.
Yeah, nutrition, I believe, is one of the, I won't call one of the hardest aspects of health, but there's so much information out there from, whatever carnivore diet or veganism or, like you just talked about, no carbs or Atkins or paleo. It's, and because we are all so different and we all have these different health opportunities, even though somebody might go vegan and it completely helps them out because maybe they were so, I don't want to use the word rotten, but toxic before, and that allowed their digestive system and their gut to heal itself and they feel better, might not be the answer for you who's already somewhat clean, and that might make you feel weaker and you're protein deficient. So it's one of those things where we're all on our own healing journey and our own path, and hopefully we all find people that give us the information that we need when we need it. And I pray that we can all have the discernment to know what it is that we need to hear in the right times and implement it to feel better. But I do think that nutrition is one of those more complicated issues. And is it, nutrition for health, or is it nutrition for weight loss, or nutrition for optimizing muscle building, or is it nutrition to help detox a gut problem? And so there's a lot of different angles, but everyone kind of tries to say like, this is the right way and this is how everyone should eat. That's not the case.
You're right. And I want to emphasize this point because the listener out there, the viewer is like, if you're considering making a change in your life, like you hold the keys. There's a famous quote from the Eagles I love to say, which is some people live their lives in chains without ever knowing they have the key. Justin can be the key at New Dimensions Wellness. Clearly, he's going to sit you down and not just hammer a specific nutrition plan on you or not just hammer a specific exercise routine. And I love how you said, I think you used nutrition opportunity.
Health opportunity.
Health opportunity.
Yeah.
I love
So
that
there's
phrase.
there's no sickness, there's no disease, negative words, right? Some people might have health opportunities, and if you have an opportunity, you could if you give the body what it needs and you take away the things that the body doesn't need, it can heal itself. And I've seen this
Yeah.
over and over again, countless times. I've seen people with stage 4 cancer in multiple organs. Doctor give them 2 months to live, and a year later, zero signs of cancer in their body from doing the right things. Um,
Wow.
and that's not just one person. That's multiple people. And I'm not saying that's what we do here at New Dimensions FDA. Just if you're listening, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the body has an innate ability to heal itself
Right.
from whatever, if you give it the right inputs.
That's amazing. I think we've all heard stories like that anecdotally where it seems far-fetched. So I'm glad that you've had the personal experiences with that. And don't worry, my podcast is certainly not big enough to be wiretapped by the
One
federal
day, one
government
day, one
just
day.
yet. I'm not Joe Rogan or anything. Uh, I want to go back and focus on your mission. The mission, the stated mission, or one of the stated missions of New Dimensions Wellness is that love and healing basically are kind of
Mhm.
part and parcel. So it's beyond physical improvements, and we've touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to have you delve into kind of the more emotional side of your healing philosophy. Can you dig into that?
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier that there's 3 avenues that affect our cells, and I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, but
Please do.
every single thing in our body is a cell, right? Our brain is made up of brain cells, our skin is skin cells, our heart is heart cells, our blood is blood cells, so on and so forth. If our cells malfunction, we have a symptom, and then we label the symptom based on what malfunctions, right? So if it's my heart that malfunctioned, maybe it's a heart attack, or if it's my brain cells, it's a stroke. If it's my skin, it's a tumor, eczema, whatever we want to call it, right? But we just label these cellular malfunctions as a symptom.
Yeah.
But at its core, it's just a cellular malfunction. So there's only one disease in the world, that's cellular malfunction. So now, why do our cells malfunction? Well, there's only 2 ways. Our cells are either not getting enough of the things that they need, or they're getting too much of the stuff they don't need.
Mm.
So now I took that philosophy and I said, okay, well, how can I simplify that? Well, the things that we need from a structural perspective are exercise, movement, proper movement, things that we already talked about. Things we need from a biochemistry standpoint is we need vitamins and minerals, and we need food for calories, and we need, these electrolytes. And what are the things that we don't need? Okay, well, we don't need these chemicals, and we don't need pesticides, and we don't need pollution, and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
And then the third category is, well, what do we need from a mental, emotional side of things? And love. Every book you read says, God is love. I don't care if it's the Bible, Quran, anything. God is love. We're made in His image, so essentially we are love, and we need love. And love and fear are 2 opposite emotions. So almost, there's a book called A Course in Miracles, and it talks about there's only 2 emotions. One is love and one is fear. If you're making decisions from a place of love, you're spirit guided. If you're making decisions from a place of fear, it's probably going to be the wrong decision and lower frequencies. But fear affects us on a day-to-day basis, and we call it stress. Like, what do we stress about? Oh, what do I have to do later? What's going on with this relationship? Is this going to work out? What's this family do? I mean, we probably worry about hundreds of thousands of things on a day-to-day basis, and that affects our body on a structural and physical way, right? If I think about something that I'm afraid of, man, my blood pressure is going to go up, my heart rate's going to increase, my palms might get sweaty, I'm nervous, my muscles are tight, I'm in this state of stress. On the opposite side of it, if I can take some deep breaths, detach my mind from those thoughts, come from my inner beingness, all of a sudden my blood pressure goes down. My pulse rate is going down. I feel a sense of peace. I'm happier. So, what techniques and what things can you do on a day-to-day basis to allow your mindset to be in a good place, right? And easy things are Affirmations. Like, what do you affirm to yourself? What do you tell yourself every day? I ask people this all the time. And I'm asking you this question now, but what's your name?
My name is Phil Kruse,
How do you know that?
because that's what my parents told me.
So if I call your parents up right now and I tell them to tell you that your name is Stephanie, are you going to believe you're Stephanie?
No.
Why not? Your parents just told you that. You told me that you know your name's Phil because your parents told you that.
Yeah.
So it's not that. So again, like, how do you know your name is Phil?
Right. So I've internalized it. I've decided that it's my decision at this point.
You've probably practiced Phil and responding to it hundreds of thousands of times from the time you were born, right? Phil, don't do that. Phil, breakfast ready. Phil, I love you. Phil, sit down. Phil, come here. And so you've practiced that idea of being Phil over and over again till right now you have no shadow of a doubt that you're Phil. If you were standing in the street about to get hit by a car and I said, Phil, you're probably going to turn around and look at me and get hit by the car because you don't have to think about it. You know without a shadow of a doubt you're Phil.
Right.
Because you've practiced it. So now what if you practiced, I'm good enough. People love me. I could sell any home. I'm an amazing father. I'm an amazing husband. I love myself. I can accomplish anything. I'm a friend to everybody. People love me. And you practice that over and over and over and over again until there's not a shadow of a doubt that that's who you are. Now, when somebody says something to you like, whatever it might be, hey, Phil, you're a jerk. Like, you're probably going to turn around and be like, who? Me?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't even register. Like, yo, who you talking to? That me?
Yeah.
So if you can put yourself into a place to where you know who you are without a shadow of a doubt. I know who I am. I know my morals. I know my worth. I know my value. I know how I treat myself. I know what my heart feels. You little things that happen on a day-to-day basis don't bother you. The Wi-Fi goes out. Who cares? Right? Like this person is having a bad day or says something. It doesn't matter. But to get your place to that, or to get yourself to that place to where you know who you are, extremely powerful. And again, not to get religious, but if you look at different religions, there's so many cool examples of that. But I mean, Jesus is one of them. He knew without a shadow of a doubt. He said, "Me and my Father are one. I'm my Father's son. The Father in heaven made me, and I know that's who I am." To the point the story goes, right? He was ridiculed, beaten, tortured, crucified, and he's still up on that cross, and he could look down and say, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." No stress, no, I can't believe you guys are doing this. Just when if you can get to that place of just knowing who you are and you can move in this world with the authority of me and my Father are one, and you're exercising and you look good and you're eating right, it's like, man, life is amazing. Life is, it's so happy. You could, you wake up and you're excited to go see the blue skies and the green grass and to meet this person or do this podcast. When you can wake up with the enthusiasm for life because you know who you are and you feel good, that's an emotionally stable, good place. Now,
I couldn't
most of
agree.
us, right? Yeah, I mean, and easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here saying I could do that every day because there's definitely days I wake up and man, I'm 20 minutes late and I burnt my eggs and whatever it is. You get caught up in your mind of all of these issues and problems, but it really feels bad. It doesn't feel good. And you have to do things to, bring yourself back. And we talked about one little thing, affirmations, right? I mean, but there's journaling, there's meditation, there's prayers, there's, conversations with good people, friends. I have a couple good friends where I can call them up and talk about what's going on, and I know I'm going to get a supportive word and I'm gonna hang up that phone and feel better. So having those social people around you is extremely important. I know I'm going off and I'm rambling a lot here, but I always give this example of how social of creatures we are and how important it is to have social connection and love. I say, even in prison, where supposedly, right, you have the worst of the worst of society. Let's say, murderers and rapists and everything else. The punishment in prison is still isolation.
Yep.
You know what? Time out. You're by yourself. Hate that. And as a human being, we can't function that way. We'll go crazy. So we need these interactions to live, to survive.
I love the way you frame that. And what resonates with me most is the fact that with the affirmations, with the self-awareness to choose how you're going to be as a person day to day. And the fact that you said that you're going to be happier, you're going to be more looking forward to the day, you're going to have a better energy. What's that going to do? That's going to attract more people to you, right?
Of course.
So then it's going to be a cycle, a positive cycle where the
Right.
better you are at loving yourself, treating yourself with love and respect, emphasizing who you truly are, that's going to attract more people to you. You're going to have more social opportunities, more business opportunities,
Right.
stronger relationships with your existing people, and then things just explode for you in life. It's a huge thing that I do with my morning practice and my affirmations and my journaling. So, I mean, what Justin's talking about, guys, is gold. It's changed my life over the last few years, and to me, it's just another reason why hiring somebody like Justin or somebody like that, whether it's a a business coach, a life coach, or a facility that emphasizes, a complete wellness package. I mean, who else? If you're not investing in yourself, then what are you doing? You know?
And the beautiful thing about what you just said is, right, if you're in a better place, you're going to attract that to you. And let's just say, Phil, you're having an amazing day, me and you talk, and you're vibrating at this high frequency, and I come into your space, and now all of a sudden you raise me up to your level. Now I'm feeling better. Now I'm gonna go talk to people, and I'm gonna raise them up to that level. So now at the end of the day, you are changing the world. You're making the world a better place by, and that's where Gandhi's quote comes from: be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
You have to be that first, and then you change everybody else.
Well, we're on a topic, Justin, that I could literally talk to you about for an hour straight, going back and forth, and because it just means so much to me. But in the essence of time, we're going to put a pin in that. And if
Sure.
anybody out there wants to talk about that kind of holistic mindset living, self-love, self-awareness, contact me, contact Justin. It sounds like either one of us would be happy to help you on that path. And the last kind of subject matter I want to discuss with you is the fact that you're an entrepreneur. I love capitalism because you can have somebody like you that on its surface, if nobody knew you and didn't know you had a business, and we were just talking about health and wellness, they might think you were some sort of Buddhist, not trying to make money and conform to society. That's obviously not the case. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're a successful business owner for all accounts, working with professional athletes. So I want the listener out there to hear from you. If you had to give them, that somebody's thinking about starting their own business, or a budding entrepreneur, one piece of advice, or whatever resonates with you with this question, what would that be?
I'm gonna steal. I'm gonna steal two pieces of advice I got. There's
Okay.
there's no new information out there, right? Everything that ever was and always will be has always been there. So one was from one of my clients, and he says, Justin, find what you love to do, find what you're passionate about, and do that. You'll figure out a way to make it work. So that's one piece of advice: is find what you love to do, find your passion in what it is that you do. Um, and make that your mission, make that your vision. So for example, running a wellness studio might not seem, well, that I don't know if I love that, but it's like, well, do you love helping people? Do you like having people's lives improve? Okay, well, I could do it through this route, just like what you do with real estate. You can make somebody's life easier by helping them sell a house. So me and you have two very different trades, but our core value or the core mission of why we're doing what we're doing could be the same.
Yeah.
We just have a different skill set in what and how we do it. So the first thing I would say is find that. The second one, I'm going to steal this from Rick Ross, the rapper. Somebody asked him this same question, and I'll tell you how I put this into practice, and it works like a charm. But what he said, he says, don't be afraid to ask people for help,
Yeah.
because so many people will help you out if you ask them, but nobody is going to come up to you and just give you the keys to the kingdom. And I tell that to all my employees here. I said, if any of you guys come and you ask me to help you, I said, I'll stay here till 3 a.m. giving you everything I have, trying to teach you everything. But I'm not going to go out there and tap you on the shoulder and say like, hey, you want to hang out till 3 a.m. and figure out how to, fix a hip asymmetry? Like, it's never going to happen. So me, man, I'll use a real estate example. Not a real estate guy. Don't know too much about it, but I have a lot of clients that come here that are, I would call them real estate moguls. And I asked them one time, like, hey, man, can I sit down and pick your brain about this and what you do? And yeah, of course. What are you doing for lunch next week? Yep. And I get to sit down with an absolute genius businessman who's giving me all the knowledge that he has. Guy probably gets paid to speak at conventions and, but because you show initiative and you ask, people will help you because people know how to do it. People have done it before you, and they're more than willing to help you if you'll just ask. So big piece of success advice is ask for help.
Any successful person I've ever met, someone who's truly successful, wants to share. They want to share their story. They want to help. And, I tell my kids all the time, I said, I ask them a question. I say, what do the smartest people in the world do? And I've got them trained to answer. I'm not sure if they understand it yet, but at least I got them trained to answer. They say they ask the most questions. And I also tell them the open mouth gets fed, which is what you're talking about. Nobody walking around with food look, if you're holding a tray of food and someone comes up to you and says, I'm hungry, can I have that? Are you going to give it to that person? Or are you going to give it to the person over there who's sitting with their mouth closed, not even making eye contact? I think we all understand that. So awesome advice. I love the Rick Ross angle. And I love hearing that too, because it only emphasizes what I'm doing more and more. I want to go out and connect with more people. I want to go out and ask more questions. I want to go out and learn, because I tell people all the time, I mentor engineering students at UCF. I just had a mentoring session yesterday. My mantra is, what's the best that can happen? Right?
Yeah, love that.
Ask that person a question. What's the best that can happen? So why don't we leave it on that? Justin, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. I can't believe that, man, 45 minutes went by so fast. That, man, I love good conversation.
Me too. It really did. And I know the listener and the viewer found this super impactful. Like, Orlando is an amazing city. I think it's the best city in the United States. We got no property taxes. We got no income tax in the state of Florida. We got the great weather, close to the beaches. And Orlando is full, I'm telling you, full of entrepreneurs like Justin. If you're listening out there, Justin is one of thousands, if not tens of thousands of entrepreneurs. I was at a charity event last night, meeting folks that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are UCF graduates, and they're starting charities and businesses right here in Orlando. And just know that people like Justin exist. Take advantage of them. Take advantage of the New Dimensions Wellness Club. Go better yourself, better your life. Remember, their website is ndwellness.com. You can find them on Instagram at nd_wellness. Look at their videos. Get an idea of these different techniques and these cool exercise videos alone, for me, are worth the trip.
I appreciate
it. You're welcome. You could do good content. And Justin himself, he provides a lot of philosophical content, emotional well-being type, self-help type stuff like he's talked about. So make sure you follow Justin on there. And speaking of following people, follow me all over social media. I provide a lot of holistic content as well. It is far from just real estate, although I do have plenty of that. And I'm here to help you as a listing specialist. I also help buyers. I specialize in working with builders in new construction. I'm a property developer as well. So if you're thinking about going that angle, hit me up. And regardless if I work with you as a seller or a buyer, always a portion of my commissions is going to charity. Again, follow me on any of the podcast platforms, YouTube, turn on your notifications, and always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Justin, thanks again. This was an amazing conversation.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
You got it, buddy. Have a great day, everyone.